Driver's license testers. What's the worst thing a kid has done without batting an eye while taking the driving test? My dad was friends with a guy who worked for the registry giving the road test. His best story was of a kid who took his test while it was raining. He started driving without the windshield wipers on. The guy figured he was nervous, so tried to give him a break, saying, "It's raining pretty hard, huh?" The kid was white-knuckled on the steering wheel and just said, "Yeah." Again, trying to give the kid a break, he said, "Don't you think you should do something about that?" The kid said, "Yeah." Apparently he didn't know where the wiper controls were, so he rolled down the driver's side window and stuck his head out. At that point he stopped the test and failed him. Ah, the old Ace Ventura. Like a glove. When I parallel parked, I hit the pole behind me, and the tester said it's fine. This should be an automatic fail, but I think that's a bit too harsh. Then I hit the pole in front of me head on. Did not pass. So nice you had to do it twice. I'd pass him for consistency alone. Wasn't a kid, my 80-year-old great-aunt. The tester kept telling her to speed up. After a few times she said she can't see the speedometer, so she doesn't know fast she is going. He made her pull over and she did not receive a renewal, thank God. Edit, LPD, drive extra careful around pharmacies. It's usually crowded with old people. It's one of the few places they need to drive to. Was taking my driver's test as a teen. Got to the point of doing the vision test. Was next to an old woman who was doing the same. She missed a bunch and the tester's response was, "Close enough." I was thinking, haha, what? Last year I was making a left turn at a light, and a car swerved into my lane and hit me. Turns out it was someone taking their driver's test. I'm not exactly sure how driver's test car insurance works, but the instructor told me we had to wait for the police and take details of everything. I am guessing the driver did not pass. Car accident was an automatic fail on my test, even if it wasn't your fault. It didn't happen to anyone I know, but it's still a checkbox you don't want. Edit, didn't. That sucks, but it would impede your ability to finish the test possibly. It shouldn't be a fail, at least, just a do-over. I believe it's a fail and come back because most people get anxious after accidents, especially when you're just taking the test. I failed my first test because I knocked over the pole in 90 back in. Second test I failed because some idiot Harley man ran a stop sign in front of me. The kids make minor mistakes, and yes, some do make scary mistakes. However, it's the adults that scare me most. Especially the seniors who are up for re-exam. Probably the worst test I've ever been on was this man in his 90s. I instructed him to turn onto a street when it is safe to do so, and he turned, narrowly missing a pedestrian. Not only that, but he was driving on the wrong side of the road. He came head-to-head with another car who pulled over to let him go. He was laughing about it, because he was under the impression that it was a one-way road. When I got back to the office with him, I cut the test short and got him back in the quickest and safest way possible. He was astounded when I told him it was not a one-way street. Me, did you see any one-way signs? Him, no, but I assumed you were going to take me on one. Huh? Edited for clarity. Sorry. Edit. As someone who is minorly disabled due to an elderly man hitting me on my motorcycle, I thank you for retesting the elderly, and encourage more of it. Many thanks to the lives you save. I wish we would do more of it, honestly. But we have very specific protocols for re-exams. If we required all people over the age of, insert age here, to retest, we could be opening ourselves up to accusations of age discrimination. I don't see why they can't make a law out of it though. If teenagers under 15 in most areas aren't allowed to drive, and there's no age discrimination there, the case could be argued for the elderly too. A lot of older people lose their shit when you talk about taking away licenses. They're also very vocal, and older people tend to make up local government. It's common sense, but sadly it makes a lot of people very upset, so politicians turn a blind eye to the blatant risk to the public. Personally, I feel like we shouldn't give a crap if we make old people upset. Safety comes first. They don't get to be an exception because they're old. My best friend's son just failed because he went the wrong way down a busy 4-lane road. Luckily, they made it safely into a parking lot and the testing administrator drove them back. Good thing no one got hurt. My dad did testing for a few years and he once had a girl stop on railroad tracks. There was a train coming, slowly, but still it takes them a long time to stop, and it blasted the horn right into the car, passenger side, with the window open. This just made her freeze up even more. He had to reach his foot over to her side to hit the accelerator. Added to add, in Canada you can do your driver's test in any car you choose because, in theory, you should be good enough at driving to not need an instructional car. So this car did not have dual pedals. Why in the ever-loving world would she stop on tracks? He couldn't explain why. I suspect she started going over the tracks and then the signal started going off and she just froze up and hit the brakes instead of getting off the tracks. But he didn't ask her motivation, he just failed her and I suspect got out of that car as soon as he could. Is he still a tester? I was expecting this to finish with, and now he restores vintage guitars for a living. Took a test with a girl who drove on the wrong side of the road and took a left turn into oncoming traffic all in the same drive. It was through my school and she was banned from taking it through the school because of that. How does that happen? Like, how do you get your mandatory hours in with a practice permit yet drive on the wrong side of the road? Answered his phone. Yellow? Lol, yo, am taking my driving test. This nerd doesn't even know how high I am. LMFAO. My grandfather used to be a tester. He had one girl forget which way to turn the steering wheel, and they ended up in a ditch. Please tell me it was that they turned the wrong way when they were going in reverse. Nope. Going forward on a slightly curving road. Just, wow. One of my classmates in HS failed his driver's test 6 times. During one test, he hit a pedestrian. Phew boy, the fines must have been big to even try 6 times, not even counting hitting a pedestrian. Opposite kind of story here. When I was taking driver's ed, I was in a car that had the brake on the passenger side for the instructor to use just in case. Going 35 down fairly busy street, my car all of a sudden comes to a complete stop. In horror I look over at my instructor who is sound asleep with his foot on the brake. I just sat there dumbfounded. After a couple people honked real quick, he shook himself awake, mumbled a quick accelerate and sat up adjusting his glasses. So that was fun. Edit, yes, I did pass. Guy was in his 70s and just didn't care about anything. Good thing he didn't also have a throttle control. My driver's ed teacher said that one kid reclined his seat all the way back, put one foot on the gas and the other on the brake, and grabbed the top of the wheel with one hand and said, "Let's go." Future Fast and Furious driver right there. Yeah, only way the story would have been better was if he told the instructor that he lives his life a quarter mile at a time. I'm not a tester, but I asked my tester during my full license test what was the worst thing someone had done. Apparently there was an older gentleman who drove through 3 stop signs before the tester told him to pull over. The gentleman explained that he didn't want the license but his family was pressuring him, so ran the signs on purpose to fail, made sure no cars were coming first. Come on grandpa, you gotta get your license renewed. No, I don't think I will. My best friend was coming to a 4-way stop sign in our small rural town. The tester said to go straight. So she did. Without stopping at the sign. Just drove right through without batting an eye. He basically told her, "Well, you failed, if you wanted to just drive back." I went forward instead of in reverse when the tester was standing in front of me on the curb. I failed. Vroom, no, I think you are going to pass me. Okay, 3 stories. My ex drove a geo-tracker, tiny car. She pulled right into the parallel parking area and fit in so unbelievably easy. The tester made her do it properly. A girl in my driver's ed failed her test when she went to DMV because she turned into oncoming traffic. Not only was there a grass median, there was some of those skinny red-white poles for about 10 feet followed by a guardrail. Each side of the median was 3 lanes. There really was no way to miss it, but she did. On a lighter note, I did the backing up 100 feet. When the tester told me when, I stopped, and before I put it into park he asked me a few verbal questions, then proceeded to give me directions to leave the area and back to the parking lot where the parallel parking test would be done. Never put the car in drive, pressed the gas, and car went flying in reverse for about 20 feet. He apologized and said, "My fault for distracting you. As far as I'm concerned, that never happened." He apologized and said, "My fault for distracting you. As far as I'm concerned, that never happened. Passengers are distracting all the time. I thought it was gonna be a shit test." Some pilot examiners will actually do this sort of thing deliberately. For example, making small talk during taxiing.